Okay. Testing, testing. It looks like I have audio. All right. Getting all set here for tonight's chiller chat. Hopefully we can get the video up and running tonight. We're going to find out. Yes, I had it muted because I was actually talking to John Murray, who's going to be the guest tonight, and I didn't want that to uh, be on here. We were working on trying to uh, have the video up here. So tonight there will be a photograph, there'll be a picture um, instead of the video like we were hoping to have. But these things happen. We're still going to do, we'll do the phone interview, and then I'll put John's picture up here. You know John Murray, some of you know him as Doc Dredd. He'll be the guest tonight. So let me get on here and do my thing here where I share this. Share it to a page. Yeah, we'll share it to Chiller Chat. And we'll share it to a group. Chiller Night group. And we'll share it to that Brian Hogue guy's page. What the heck? There we go. By the time I get this done, pretty close to being time to start. Let me get off of that page, do away with any echo. Tom says, oh no. No, well, on the plus side, not so plus for John, but it's on his end. He's not able to log on. So we're still, everything that we've labored to set up is still set up, Tom. So Roger says, good evening. Good evening, Roger. Rule World Order says, hey, Brian, today's my birthday. Wow, hey, happy birthday there. Our new episode, Invading MySpace, is getting lots of views, Buzzkiller. I saw you just messaged me, but I was setting everything up here. I'll have to check that out. Well, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. All right. Brian Yeager, what's up, boss? Hey, Brian, how's it going? Hey, Brian. We can, you know, instead of meeting at the TV studio, this is an option too. Now, tonight, you're not going to see a very good example of that because but we did a show Saturday night where, you know, we have the guest, you know, Tom Paisley was here with us the other night, and you could see and hear the video. So I mean that's an idea too. We could have you on Chiller Chat. I'd like to get that done somewhat soon, and then I can overlay pictures of Lumberjack and some of your wrestling events and stuff like that. So, um, Tom says, HBD Ghoul. Oh, happy birthday, Ghoul. All right. Brian says, either way, can't wait. It would be great. We will get it done. All right, it's 7:59. I take it that you can hear me okay? I hope so. I hope that's the case. I don't really need this plugged in right now anymore if I'm not going to be on. Actually, it'd be better because I won't have an echo. Raymond says, Brian. Raymond says, yes. Okay. Tom says, sounds good. Okay, awesome. Folks, it is 8 o'clock. Time to begin. Everybody, this is Brian Hogue. Welcome to Chiller Chat. Now tonight we are going to be talking with a gentleman named John Murry. Some of you might know him as Doc Dredd of Doc Dredd movie reviews. So Doc's going to come on here. I gotta try not to call him. Well, I'm going to have his picture up. It's going to say Doc Dredd, but John Murry. His name's on there as well. But the thing is, John's going to tell us some interesting stuff here tonight about him formerly living in a house that was haunted. So without any further hesitation, let's get Doc on the phone here. Or John. Hello.
Hi, this is John.
Hey, John, this is Brian. You are on Chiller Chat. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thank you, sir.
Good. I know we tried to get this up and running for the video and audio capabilities, but the technical gods were not kind to us tonight. But that's okay. We're still going to have a good and fun show. So.
Yeah, they frowned upon
me. What'd you do? Chad says, Chiller Chat time. Yes. Lisa Ann says, hello, Chiller. Hey, Lisa Ann, thanks for joining us tonight. Well, John, this is, you brought up an interesting topic during one of the Chiller Night pre-shows, and you had mentioned, or I'm sorry, it was actually last week during Chiller Chat, you had mentioned that you had lived in a house that was haunted. So we will just pick it up with that. How's that sound?
Okay. It was quite a few years ago. Back in, I believe it was 1986, fall. My brother-in-law bought a house in Pottstown, and it needed some major cleaning out and fixing up and painting and wallpaper scraping. And so my wife and I, we took it upon ourselves to clean the house out for him. And we were going to live there for, the rent was going to be low because we were doing all the work.
Uh-huh.
And then he was going to give us an option to buy. Well, it wasn't long after, it was right after we started cleaning out, we found little medicine bags hanging in the back of, like, all of the doors. And, of course, we threw them out. And, like, the next day you would find one the same color close by. You swore you'd already thrown them out. So that was the first thing. But as we continued cleaning out and getting the rooms ready to live in, the footsteps started. And it was a single home in Pottstown, so it wasn't connected to a twin. There was no other house connected to our house. But the footsteps would, at nighttime, we'd be in bed, and you would hear them come upstairs, shuffle past our room, down the hall to where the attic door was, and you would hear the footsteps up the attic steps, and then there was pacing taking place up in the attic. Now, I worked security at the time, and so, of course, I got to play Rambo and go hunt for any would-be intruders, and didn't find any. Uh, the dog would barely lift its head when this was taking place.
Huh.
But it was almost a nightly ritual. And after about the third night, I stopped looking and I just accepted it as, well, that's just kind of strange. My wife's family believed more in the supernatural than I did. I was always sort of believed in the possibility, but had never really encountered anything like this. So she sort of knew what was going on, and that the house was haunted.
Now, did you know the people that lived in there before you?
No, but we did have an opportunity to talk to them. They got in touch with us.
About this?
Well, no, but just they had moved to Florida. There was two older sisters, and they had moved to Florida, and they were going to come back to Pennsylvania for a visit with other family. And they wanted to meet us. They wanted to meet the nice couple who lived in their house.
Uh-huh.
And they did, and we invited them into the house, and they refused to enter.
They refused to enter.
Refused to enter the house. They said Mother's still in there. So I'm not sure how much or how long it had been since Mother had passed, but they said that Mother was still in the house and they wouldn't go in.
Wow.
Yeah. And, well, we had started calling our ghost Pete because while we were cleaning, there was a piece of tape on the third attic step. And on the tape was written, "Dear God, I am weary and tired of this life, but I'm happy. Signed, Pete." She signed it. So when we talked to the daughters, it was our first indication that Pete was actually their mother, and that's what she went by. The daughters confirmed this, that she went by Pete.
Wow. Now, but they didn't say how long this had been going on or how long it had been that their mother had passed away. They just said Mother's still in there, and they refused to go in.
Exactly. So we had a nice visit out on the porch. And we offered them something cool to drink, and they accepted. And they were very sweet.
Uh-huh.
But they didn't want to go anywhere, and not even step inside the house.
Did they happen to mention that that's the reason why they moved? Or
they didn't. We sort of kept the whole haunting thing. Other than them saying that, we were very, we didn't want to bring it up in case it was a touchy subject. We didn't really know them that well. So as time progressed, not only did we have the footsteps, but we would have the glimpses out of the corner of your eye of movement. And it's just like your peripheral vision picks something up, and then you turn to look, and it just happened way too often. It was freaky. It was always like there was somebody in the house other than us. We also had the blinking lights. This is the age of the VCRs. So this was super annoying. The lights would dim, not go all the way out, but they would dim and come back up. And of course, that would reset your VCR, so anything that you had programmed into it was now erased, because it had lost power. So we had called the electric company, and they came out and checked the wires to the house, and they were good. And we called up an electrician, and though our wiring was old, he could find nothing wrong with it, no reason for the dimming lights, which corrected itself after about a month. It just stopped. I don't know, maybe she knew we were annoyed because programming the VCR was always a chore.
One of the questions I was going to ask you is, but you, I think you might have kind of covered it, that she was already in there. I was going to ask if there was an event that took place, prior to, from the time you were living there until this thing started to show up. But evidently it was just in there to begin with.
I'm going to assume that because the daughters said she was still there. I've heard and read stories about how once renovations start, things can get active, and that spirits don't like the renovations, or they become active as renovations are happening.
You're changing stuff in their house,
Yes,
from what
yes.
they were comfortable with. That's interesting. Lisa Ann says this episode sounds weird and scary, and then she writes shadow people. That's a possibility, I suppose. Did you feel that way?
It is, and it actually got to a point where it was more than glimpses. We had returned from the grocery store, and my wife was ahead of me. She had bags, and as you walk in our front door, there was another doorway that led into like the front parlor or the living room, which we never used. That door was always shut, and there was a sofa up against it on the other side. Directly in front of you as you walked in the front door were also a short hallway, then the steps that led upstairs. These are the steps that Pete would walk up every night. And then there was another doorway right before the steps that led into the dining room. My wife had gone in through the dining room to the back where the kitchen was to start putting groceries away. I was coming in with groceries, and I saw Pete walk into the hallway, and this was like a shadow person. It wasn't solid. You could see it was like a shadow. She walked from the dining room into the hallway and went up the steps.
You watched this happen.
Excited.
You watched that happen.
Yeah, it's like, wow. So I went into the kitchen, and I said, guess who I just saw? And Joanne, she says, oh, you just saw Pete. And then I was like, I was deflated. How did you know? She goes, because right before you came in, all of the hairs on my body just felt like they were standing up, and like somebody was right behind me. So that was one of the major things that happened while we were there.
Had your wife ever saw that form, that figure?
She would catch glimpses. I don't think she saw the shadowy forms at all. She would that peripheral thing.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Raymond said Pete should have helped put away your groceries.
Oh, Pete should have helped get a lot of things. Right. She liked misplacing my keys. Oh. And that happened a couple of times. And I'm a stickler for being on time for work. And I started at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was leaving the house by 5, and not being able to find my keys and waking my wife up, and we're both looking for the keys. I'm blaming her, she's blaming me, and then the keys always end up close to where they were left.
Wow. Anything, I guess you'd say maybe call it sinister, or did you get some people say that they see or feel a presence in their home or maybe their place of work, and it is it's calming, it's not threatening, and then some people say quite the opposite, that they feel a very negative force. Which would you put this in the category of?
She was just there.
Just there.
I never felt really negative or scared by her. But she sort of left her presence known. Especially with the walking up the stairs every night. Now, things, time traveled on, and we were there for 3 years. And when we had found out my brother-in-law was going to sell the house, and the housing market jumped. He was going to double his money, and you couldn't blame him. But he gave us 3 months to find a new place to live,
Mm-hmm.
and the stress in the house was just, crazy. And then she became very active. The footsteps and the shuffling seemed louder. She would stomp around upstairs. So we think that she got used to us, and or maybe our stress was just feeding her energy. I don't know. But it just got louder, a lot louder. Our daughter, we would find her sleeping outside of our bedroom because her bedroom lined up with the attic door, and she could hear the doorknob rattling. So she got scared. She would get scared, and she would sleep outside of our room in the hallway.
Well, Raymond says, speaking of the attic, Raymond says, did Pete commit suicide in the attic? But
I don't know.
You don't know anything about her, though.
I know. The daughters did say that she spent a lot of time up in the attic.
Okay. Lisa Ann says, I would always see from the corner of my eye, but never said anything. One night I'm watching TV, and a guy who looks like the Quaker oatmeal guy stood there. Then the Chihuahua started barking at him, and I knew I wasn't crazy. So an animal, she had an animal react to the presence as well. You say you had a dog. Did your dog, get agitated with this?
She was a basset hound, and she was very low key. So, other than looking up when the footsteps were coming down the hall, and she just settled right back down.
Okay.
The Quaker oat man. That's this is probably our last March. This wasn't long after we had found out that the house was for sale. In March, and it would have been either 90, no, it would have been 1989. I saw Pete as a full figure. She wasn't a shadow. We were in our living room, and where I normally sat, it faced directly toward the kitchen. And then my wife was on the sofa, and I woke up because I felt like, there was movement or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just maybe like I was being watched. But I woke up, and in the kitchen, she was standing right in the kitchen doorway, and she was wearing like a blue, maybe bathrobe, like a fuzzy house coat.
Uh-huh.
And I could not see her face. Her face was like blacked out. And I saw her, and I got hit, and it felt like a hit with this sense of sadness. It was just like almost making me want to cry. And I looked over to see if Joanne had seen her or if she was awake, and she had fallen asleep also. And I looked back, and Pete was gone. And as was the feeling of the sadness and stuff. It was just like, I don't know if I was feeling her emotions, but I didn't tell Joanne I had seen Pete till the next day. Daylight and all. I didn't want her to be afraid.
Right.
But that was as close to almost her being a human. She wasn't a shadow person. You didn't see through her. She looked solid, except no face.
I guess with that one sighting that you're telling me about right now, that leads me to The next question is like, do you feel like this was a what they call a residual haunt, or with that, do you think that that was a conscious, effort to try to contact
she
you?
almost seemed aware,
Uh-huh.
and
Okay.
it was like we were making contact. The stuff other than that, the steps and the shuffling up in the attic, that could have very well been a residual haunt.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Um, Lisa Ann, this is going back to the Quaker guy, and then she said, and the dog started barking. She said she told my mom, and she says I know. So her mom was aware. She says my daughter has seen the shadow people too. We all saw them at the same place in the house. I haven't seen one for about 8 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, and that was how long ago with yours? Back in, did you say 1990 or?
Yeah, we had moved out in 1989.
Okay.
I don't know anything about owners after us other than the house was up for sale again a year later after we had left. And then I think it was up for sale again 2 years after that. So people didn't stay long there after we had left, at least the first two.
Yeah. Well, do you live far from that house now? I mean, or do you still live in the same approximate area?
We're one town away. So, occasionally we'll drive by the old house to look at the outside of it.
That is something. What do you think you were seeing? What do you
It's it's like I saw what I saw, and I heard what I heard, and I knew that it wasn't natural.
Uh-huh.
So I just assumed it was haunted and a ghost. The keys being, quote unquote misplaced or moved around, and like that one sighting of her where she looked solid. I think it was a spirit.
I wonder, what's that mean to you? What's the idea of a spirit mean to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I have religious beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
and I would hope that people pass to wherever they're going after they pass away. But maybe she was stuck there. Maybe there was something she needed to. I don't know.
That's what gets me. I'm very fascinated by this because I had a very religious, church-going upbringing. I guess I somewhat walked away from that for quite a while, and then I believe I've probably very recently made full circle. So I'm not sure if there is, if that spirit goes to its destination right away, or if some do and some get stuck. That's I'm fascinated by that. I wish we knew the answer to that, and that's, I guess, where the paranormal investigators are at least taking efforts to find that stuff out as much as they can.
Yeah. That's a mystery to me.
I wish we knew. Well, let's see. Like I said, Raymond brought up that good thing about, or a good question about the suicide. Did she commit suicide in the attic? You said that she had spent a lot of time up there. So that kind of makes sense. Mr. Tracy says, wow, that was a little while ago, Mr. Tracy. Let's see. And Tom says, and this was a while ago, send me your address again, Brian. I'll mail you a razor. All right, yeah, I do got to take care of that here. But yeah, this is that's a very interesting story, and I've never had an experience like anything that you just described. I've certainly heard enough people tell me because of this show and then talking with other people who are paranormal investigators. Um, Lisa Ann just wrote, "Our ghost didn't seem scary." Okay.
Yeah, neither did Pete really. We had gotten used to her, and her routine got quieter as we lived there. And then when we found out that we had to leave, then things got more active and she got louder.
She seemed to not like any type of disruption to a routine, maybe, you know, or something being changed in the house, or like you had mentioned earlier, maybe she kind of got used to you guys being there, and then when you started getting ready to move, it seems like that's what got her agitated again.
Yeah, exactly.
Bonehead says, "Hello, Chiller Night crew and Brian. Happy birthday, Ghoul World Order." Oh, yeah, we mentioned that before we started with the opening credits. It was Ghoul World Order's birthday. So, let's see. Okay. Yeah, this is an interesting, and you told it very well because I could visualize it very clearly, everything that you were saying. I don't know how people could not be, I guess, more afraid, when something like that is occurring. Like I see Lisa Ann's comment, and you weren't scared by this, and to me that would just seem like something so out of the ordinary that I don't know how you would be calm unless there was I don't know, by the peace of God, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than the first night where I actually went looking for somebody, that was a little freaky, and not finding anybody there,
Yeah.
But she never. It wasn't like it was her intention to scare us. The shadows and the movement out of the corner of your eye, it felt weird, but it wasn't really scary.
Mm-hmm.
The shadow person who, walked into the hallway and up the stairs in front of me, and then I had told Joanne about it, and she said, yes, she was just here. It wasn't like a horror movie. The shadow didn't come flying at me screaming.
Right.
It just sort of glided by, then up the steps.
You said something just a minute ago that kind of maybe, you said the first time was scary, and I'm thinking, was that because you thought there was an intruder in your house? And that got me thinking, like you had been more concerned or more afraid of a physical entity in your home than an actual ghost. As weird as that sounds.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's interesting. Let's see. Mr. Tracy says, "I know 3 Brians, 2 Stacys, just to watch out." I'm not sure what context we were looking at there, Mr. Tracy. I'm sorry. Maybe I missed something up above. Lisa Ann says, "It's real fast and stunning." Seeing something like that, I take it? Yeah, that way I would imagine. And we only have like 2 minutes left. I told you, John, before we started this, this goes so super quick. So we really only have about a minute left. Is there? Oh, I do want to say this. I want to bring up your contact information here. You can see right there on the screen, folks. You can contact John Murray there on Facebook. Doc Dread, of course, on Facebook, and you have a YouTube channel, John Dr. Dread Murray.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you can just Google pound Dr. DR, D-R-E-A-D, Dr. Dread reviews, no spaces. Pound Dr. Dread reviews, and my shows will pop up.
Okay.
Google's incredible.
And you're also featured on the Monster Channel, and I have their website up there on the screen. And one last thing I wanted to, and I also have your email address, your Dr. Dread Horror Host at gmail.com. Folks, if you want to get in touch with John, aka Doc Dread, these are a few ways that you can do that. Is there anything else you'd like to add, John?
No, other than I hope that she has moved on. I really do. I hope she found her peace.
I hope so. Well, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing that time in your life and those encounters with Pete. And I'm like you. I hope she found her peace. So.
Thank you, Brian.
All right. Thank you, John. And you have a good night. Thanks again.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye. All right. And everybody, thank you very much for joining us here on Chiller Chat. Let's make sure that we have everybody's. Raymond says thanks for the interview, Brian and Doc. All right, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Have a good night. Have a good chiller night. We'll see you next week.
How many times do I have to tell you, just because something isn't good doesn't mean it's bad?